The Bryan Kohberger case right now is set for trial this August, finally, after all these years of delay, and some strange motions being filed, I think, by the defense so far without success in recent days. First, defense attorneys for Kohberger asked the judge, Hippler, 2 P's, you say it fast, it could be confused for another name. Judge Hippler was not impressed with the motion to disallow any reference to the bushy eyebrows, that his defense attorneys didn't want the roommate's description before she knew who Bryan Kohberger was when she was just describing the intruder. She saw he was wearing a mask but recognized his bushy eyebrows. The judge has said that will not be barred. That's a matter for cross-examination. Secondly, the defense wanted to bring up that he's on the autism spectrum in opening so that it might explain away what they suggested were some of his odd behaviors, perhaps during the hearing or during the trial. And the judge said, you're not bringing that in. You can, if you want to put him on the stand and talk about him being on the spectrum, great. But you can't just offer testimony as the lawyers in order to explain away either his behavior in the court or any other behavior in this case. And they also asked him if they could call an expert to talk about his alleged OCD, because they said prosecutors may make arguments that Kohberger was destroying evidence right before law enforcement arrested him. And so they wanted to get around having him testify by having an expert take the stand and say, that's his OCD, because I guess everybody who's got OCD puts all of their garbage in little Ziploc baggies and then has the garbage disposed of in the neighbor's trash. But this is defense attorney Ann Taylor doing whatever she can to zealously represent her client. So what do you make of, what does all that tell you about where this case is for the defense, first of all?
It tells me, Megyn, that they're between a rock and a hard spot. Now, the judge has ruled that they may not bring in evidence of alleged autism on Kohberger's behalf in the case in chief. This is a death penalty case. It is a bifurcated trial split in two. First, there's the guilt-innocence phase, and if he is found guilty, which I predict he will be, there is then the second phase of the trial, which is the sentencing phase, where the jury will decide whether he gets the death penalty. Now, regarding autism, the defense wanted to bring in their theory that he has autism, although apparently none of the defense experts have stated thus far that he is autistic or under the spectrum. None of them have said that. They said they wanted to bring it in, as you surmised, because of his odd behavior. What odd behavior, the judge says? I don't see any odd behavior. He just sits there. So, therefore, that's irrelevant. If it becomes relevant, then I will review your motion again if you choose to renew it. But as of right now, the only way it would be relevant is if they noted quirky or odd behavior when he takes a stand. So if you want to bring it in then, sure, but he'll have to take the stand, because just sitting there, I don't see any relevance. However, if there is a guilty verdict and it goes to sentencing, I believe the judge will relent and bring in, if there is any expert that says he is autistic, to diminish his capacity to commit a crime. Now, will it diminish his capacity to commit a crime? No, that's a big no. Why? This guy is a PhD student. He has made stellar grades. He is actually teaching other students. He is not going to be deemed incapable or incompetent to commit a crime. In fact, he was obsessed with committing crimes. You know about the questionnaires he would send violent felons when under the guise of studying criminology. How did you feel right before you did it? How did you pick your victim? How did you make your exit? In other words, how can I get out of this without getting caught? They're between a rock and a hard spot. Bryan Kohberger's DNA is on the knife sheath in the snap button where you put the knife in and you snap the sheath shut under a dead body. So, again, rock and a hard spot. That's where they are.
Howard Bloom, who's been all over the reporting on this case, reports that Kohberger's mother, Marianne, his reporting is that she's encouraging her son to plead not guilty, notwithstanding all this evidence, and that there might even be a movement afoot by Kohberger's defense attorneys to somehow wrest the decision to stay in the not guilty camp away from Marianne and Bryan as we get to the trial, and somehow convince this judge to let them enter into some sort of a plea bargain negotiation with the prosecution. That Bryan Kohberger is apparently not capable potentially of making this decision, that the mother's overly influential, and that Ann Taylor, as defense attorney, probably knows better about what's going to happen at this trial. There's no world in which Ann Taylor can cut a deal for him without his consent, right?
No world. No world. As far as a guilty or not guilty, no. As far as a not guilty by reason of insanity, which he's not insane, guilty but mentally ill, he's not mentally ill. There's no way that she can usurp his ability to enter a plea, either guilty or not guilty, or an Alford, which is, I accept my sentence, but I'm not going to say I did it. I don't know, frankly, if the state would even go along with a guilty plea for life without parole. I'm not sure that they would do that. They are hell-bent on seeking the death penalty, and he's not going to plead guilty to the death penalty. To me, that means you're going to trial. Now, there is a way that the judge could enter a blind plea, which is there's no recommendation by the state, but I don't think they would do that either, because what if the judge said, okay, yeah, I'll take your guilty plea, you're getting the death penalty. So I don't think there's going to be a blind plea. Ann Taylor cannot plead in his behalf without his consent. So with the mother trying to convince him to stick with the not guilty, according to Bloom, who's written a book about the case, that is undue influence on the son, where the defense attorney wants to enter a guilty plea.
Tariff wars, stubborn inflation. No wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs. In volatile markets like the one we have now, don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. Take control and safeguard your savings. This is why so many people are turning to Birch Gold Group. They've helped tens of thousands converting an existing IRA or 401k into one in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against the economic instability with gold? Just text MK to 989898 to find out. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Text MK to the numbers 989898. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Countless 5-star reviews. They've helped so many protect their savings. Check it out. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.